Hello, everyone, to my channel for making various fanfiction podcasts. My name is Mimi. Today we'll be reading about a Naruto fanfiction. Summary. Gaara and Sakura talk through letters since they are kids. Their relationship evolves until they become two lovebirds. Expect a lot of romance and even love poems. Happy ending ahead. New FIC. The One Who Saved Me by Bipidi. On FanFiction.net. Chapter 1. New Friend. Each child was seated at his own desk. In the first row, there was a child with red hair and cloudy blue eyes, dressed in coffee-colored clothes. His neck was protected by a scarf in the same color as his robe. Wind blew hard in Suna. It carried small shiny particles of sand with lightning speed. Nobody was seated near the boy. The class had just begun, and the teacher entered the class with a stack of paper in his hand. He placed a sheet of paper on each desk, but he was careful to keep some distance from the red-haired child in the front row. A bustle began in the class among the children. One of them turned his paper into an airplane when the teacher smacked him over the head. Paper was of great importance, and it was considered a luxury to afford keeping large quantities of it at home due to the school's location, the village hidden in the sand, where trees were very rare. Gaara, the little red-haired boy, stared at his white paper, which didn't have any word written on it. The emptiness of the paper reminded Gaara of the emptiness in his heart. The teacher cleared his throat to signal for the kids to shut up and pulled Gaara out of his thoughts. Today we will do something different. We will write letters to some potential friends from a neighboring country. Gaara heard voices whisper around him.
What?
I already have enough friends. I don't want to revolve my mind with a stranger. Do we have to? Maybe to the rest of the class, that exercise wasn't important, but to Gaara it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He didn't have any friends because all of his classmates already knew what was sealed inside of him. Plus, his father never allowed him to talk to anyone, not even his brother or sister. A friend, Gaara thought. Somebody from another village couldn't possibly know these things about him, so his new friend had no reason to be afraid. Meanwhile, the teacher wrote a sketch of the letter on the blackboard. Start by writing down your address so your new friends know where to send their letters. If you're not home too often, you can write the school's address. That's better. I don't want my dad to find out. The contents of the letter are up to you. No bad words allowed, and you mustn't include details about our shinobi or strategy about how we defend our nation. Aside from that, you can write anything you want. End the letter by signing your name and hand it over to me. Gaara caught one of Hope's legs right before it tried to leave him for good. He took a hold of the pen and started writing. To my new friend. I would like to play together. I imagine it would be very fun. That's if you don't already have enough friends and you don't wish to bother with making a new one. Which games do you like? From your new friend. He folded the letter after he double-checked the address of the school and handed it over to the teacher when he started collecting all letters among the desks. Enough. Quiet, the teacher yelled. Gaara couldn't be quiet in his heart. He didn't sign his name on the paper because he was afraid his new friend would find out that he is a Jinchuriki. I can't wait to receive a letter. There was an ongoing fight with milk buns in the class. Each child ripped chunks of milk buns and threw them in the air, trying to hit another colleague. The teacher wasn't there yet. A girl with pink hair and green eyes entered the class. Stress and worry crept over her because she was afraid she was going to be hit by the flying bread. Her fear came from the fact that her classmates considered her the weak link because she always cried over the smallest things. Her face became incredibly red when she was embarrassed, and she had an unusually big forehead. A crust of breadcrumbs formed on the floor, and Sakura tried to step on it to get to her desk faster, but a malevolent boy made her trip over his bent foot while another one yanked her hair. She started to cry, but luckily for her, the teacher entered the class right then, and the boys let her be. She got up on her feet and sat down at her desk. The kids shut up and silence settled in the room. Sakura tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and listened to Irika-sensei. As you know, today is the day we receive the letters from Suna. Each of you will get one. I will place them on your desks. That's so cool. I wonder what it is like in there. I wish my new friend is a handsome boy. I wish my new friend wrote a lot. I hope he didn't use complicated words. I can't read kanji yet. Many voices whispered in class, but Sakura was silent. She secretly hoped to have a friend who wouldn't laugh at her. Be careful not to rip the paper when you open the envelope. After you read the letter, think about what you can write back. Don't forget to write your name and address. I don't want to see any bad words. Is that clear, Kiba? Kiba laughed nervously. Naruto pointed at him with his index finger and started laughing hard. Naruto, you'd better shut your big mouth and start writing. The teacher scolded the blonde boy. Naruto swallowed his voice and buried his head in the paper on his desk. Sakura smiled before she opened her envelope. She read the letter and thought, it must be so interesting and fashionable to have a friend who lives in another country. She picked up her pen and started writing. To my new friend. I am sorry, but I don't know your name. I think you forgot to write it. I'd like to play together, too. The kids here don't really play with me. They always laugh at my big forehead. By the way, are you a boy or a girl? I like playing in the sandbox. It's the only game I can play by myself, although I would love to play with you. I haven't been able to make a pretty sandcastle before. All of my tries ended up in big piles of dirt. I think you are an expert in sandcastles because you live in the desert. How many degrees are there right now? I think it must be very hot. When I feel hot, I take off my sweater. But Konoha's heat can't compare to the desert. If you were to do like me, you'd be naked. But you can't because the sun would burn your shoulders. So, what do you wear? Do you have any flowers? I love flowers. My favorite flower is lily of the valley, but my dad won't let me keep it in the house. Write to me soon. I can't wait to read your letter. From Sakura Haruno. Sakura drew small flowers around her name with a pink pen before handing the letter to Irika-sensei. A week later, the teacher gave the letters to the kids. Gaara's feet dangled forward and backward on the chair. He was anxious to read the letter from a new friend. I wonder if there's a letter for me, too.
What am I saying?
Of course there is. I wonder what he wrote to me. He almost ripped the paper when he opened the envelope in a hurry. The small pink flowers at the bottom of the letter caught his attention, and his finger traced his new friend's name. His new friend was a girl, no doubt about it. He felt a little ashamed because his friend wrote a lot more than him, but he will make up for it in the next letter. Gaara thought it would have been better if his new friend had been a boy, because they could have played with the ball had they ever met in person, like all boys in his class. At least this was what Gaara knew boys play together. He had never played with them before. They all avoided him. What can I play with a girl? I can't believe he received a letter, too. Several voices whispered in class. I am sure he will run away from Gaara when he finds out who he is. Gaara didn't hear them because he was trying very hard not to cry. Somebody genuinely wanted to talk to him. Even if it was a girl, somebody wanted to be his friend. A soothing silence nestled in his heart, and words started flowing from his pen like never before. Chapter 2. Cacti Flower. To Sakura Haruno. It is my fault. I was in a hurry when I wrote the letter, and I forgot to write my name. I am sorry, and don't worry, it will not happen again. I want to tell Sakura something interesting. There is a red tattoo on my forehead with the word love. I think Sakura's colleagues would think that I have the weirdest forehead, not you.
So don't worry about it.
I am sure Sakura's forehead is all right. If I were there, I would play with you from dawn to dusk. I could teach you how to build the greatest sandcastle in the world. I know a trick. I can show it to you if you promise not to tell anyone. I consulted and compared the data I found in the geography books that my father gave me. He has got books from all villages. There are 20 degrees more in Suna than in Konoha. I think Sakura can't come here in summer. She would melt like an ice cream.
Sakura is funny.
We wear long cotton robes that cover our neck, arms, and legs to protect us from the heat. My brother even wears a very thin hat. I can send Sakura a piece of fabric. What is her favorite color? I have never heard of this flower before. To be honest, I am not good with flowers because I am a boy, but if Sakura likes it, then it must be very beautiful. Sakura also has a flower's name, right? I wonder what it looks like. We don't have cherry trees in Suna. Maybe Sakura's father is allergic, and that is why he can't have flowers in the house? Thank you for writing back, and I can't wait to receive Sakura's reply to this letter. I would appreciate it if Sakura told me more about herself, because I don't know what to ask. From Gaara. Gaara put the letter in the envelope after he folded it in three and went to the post office alone. After Yashimaru's death, Gaara realized adults have too many facets, so they can't be trusted, unlike this girl, Sakura. She came from a neighboring village, and she had never seen him, so she couldn't possibly want anything from him. She'd have nothing to gain from talking to him except making a new friend. Sakura said kids were picking up on her. Is it possible that we already have something in common? Even if just a little? Of course, hope was as thin as the spider web, but it was there. He was walking alone on the street when round, transparent pearls trickled on his cheeks only to fall onto the sand and leave a string of dark brown pearls on the beautiful golden sand behind Gaara's little feet. He made up his mind to read everything about Konoha as soon as he got home. He couldn't risk having his dad find out he sends letters to Konoha, so Gaara wrote the post office's address on the envelope instead of his own. When Sakura's letter was going to arrive in Suna, the post office would keep it until Gaara went there in person to pick it up. A letter needed 4 to 5 days to reach its destination between the two countries.
Those days drained so slowly.
Sakura had nothing out of the ordinary that she could do. Nobody played with her without yanking her hair or laughing at her, so she spent the most time at home imagining what she could write to her new friend in Suna. Is it too soon to ask about her appearance? I wonder what she likes. What does she eat? I don't think apples grow in the desert. I could send some. No, they will turn to jam. I wish she was here. It is so boring to sit all day and do nothing. I bet she has a lot of friends, unlike me. I wish Ino was here. It was so fun to play with her. I never should have said I like Sasuke. I wonder what Sasuke is doing now. Before the mailman even reached the door to her house, little Sakura jumped off the windowsill, crawled under the table, and opened the door wide with a thump. The mailman was scared and dropped all the letters he had in his hand. Excuse me. Let me help you. You gave me quite the scare. I dropped my heart on the floor. I am sorry. Little Sakura bent to pick up all the letters before handing them to the man with blue uniform. She looked at him with her big, beautiful jade eyes and waited for him to give her the letter she expected. She almost snatched it from his hands before shutting the door in his face. The man was speechless. Before he could even register what had happened, Sakura opened the door again and yelled, "Thank you," before she went back into the house. The mailman heard her shout in joy, and he scratched the back of his head before he left the house with a smile on his face. Sakura carefully opened the envelope. Her new friend drew Suna's emblem on the letter and Konoha's emblem on the envelope with crayons.
It was so pretty.
Sakura romped and twirled around her room with the letter to her chest. The first thing she looked at was the name written on the bottom of the envelope, Gaara. So it is a boy. I wonder if he is good-looking. She carefully read every line, and she was very happy that her new friend wanted to give her gifts. All of her friends would die on envy. Sakura picked up one of the sheets of paper her mother had bought for her. It was paper that smelled like strawberries. She took a ribbon between her fingers and glued it on the top left corner of the page before she started writing with a blue pen. She stopped from time to time to chew on her pen while thinking of what to write. To Gaara-kun. It is so cool that your parents let you have tattoos. I think your tattoo has a beautiful meaning. I like it. I think it matches your name. I am very curious to know Gaara-kun's trick. Gaara-kun, I made a promise a while ago and I broke it. I am afraid to promise Gaara-kun that I will not tell anyone because I like talking and sometimes secrets just slip my mouth. I wouldn't want Gaara-kun to be upset with me, although I would really like to know this trick. Wow. Gaara-kun is amazing. You have so many books. I wish I had from where to read about Suna.
It is too hot for me.
I know I am not made of ice cream. I hurt myself once, and I tasted the blood out of curiosity. It didn't taste like ice cream at all. My favorite color is pink. What is yours? Gaara-kun is a boy, so it must be a dark color. Navy blue, black, or even brown. I don't like black at all because it is a morbid color. Gaara-kun is very smart. My name means cherry flower. I will put one in the envelope together with this letter. It's the same color as my hair. Now that you know this, you cannot say you don't like pink. By the way, What is Gaara-kun's hair color? What about his eyes? My eyes are green. Dad says I have cat-like eyes. Does Gaara-kun like cats? Gaara-kun, my dad won't let me keep that flower in the house because it is poisonous. If you keep it in water, the water fills with poison and it hurts your stomach if you drink it. That's why it grows alone, without any other flowers around. I will rip a lily of the valley and send it to you together with a cherry tree flower. I also want to send you something I drew myself. I am sorry, Gaara-kun. I don't know what to give to a boy. If you were a girl, things would be easier. You would have enjoyed the flowers I gave you, and we would have talked about the boys we like and how to do our hair. I think Gaara-kun feels the same. Maybe it would have been easier for you to talk to a boy about football or whatever boys like talking about. I don't know. Anyway, you should know that I like talking to you. I hope you don't think I am annoying, like Sasuke-kun. Gaara-kun asked me to talk more about myself, so here it is. I like reading and I like black cats. Ironic, isn't it? I like drawing. If I had a picture of Gaara-kun, I could draw him, too. I like playing games, but my mom and dad are always at work. I ask them to play with me when they come home, but they always refuse, saying they are too tired. But don't worry, Gaara-kun. I thought of a solution. I arrange the pawns on the board and wait for them to come home. When they see the game is already set on the table, they don't say no anymore, and we play together. It is fun. Gaara-kun said something about a brother. I think Gaara-kun plays with him all the time. I wish I had a brother or sister. We could play unremittingly. How many brothers does Gaara-kun have? I can't wait to receive another letter. Write to me soon. From Sakura. Little Gaara was training on the empty field. He wanted to practice his sand abilities more so he wouldn't hurt anyone accidentally. His father could make jewels out of his gold sand, but could Gaara do the same? He saddened at this thought. Who would ever want a jewel made of glass? Later, he was at home, in his room, looking out the window. Too bad Konoha wasn't close enough to see it from the window. Gaara had his teddy bear in his arms while he was looking at the waves of sand that swallowed one another. He imagined shapes that moved, telling a story. It was the same as Shikamaru watching the clouds, only Gaara didn't know it. Gaara couldn't possibly be happier when he took the letter from the post office, except if his mother came back to life to hug him. Each letter pushed away the pain in his heart little by little. Sakura couldn't even imagine how much her letters helped this lonely soul. He felt like the only straight boy in a twisted world. While everyone pushed him to the side, there was one person able to appreciate this rough diamond. He opened the envelope in his room and found 2 flowers inside, a pink one and a white one that looked like a small bell. The latter was placed on a very thin branch with many other likewise flowers. Then he saw a drawing with a lot of blue and green. He turned and flipped the drawing on all sides, but he couldn't tell what the drawing was supposed to be. It could have been a mountain or a waterfall, or maybe the sky full of clouds. This Sakura is an artist, no doubt about it. He read the letter thoroughly, and he was happy to see the "kun" suffix added to his name. He was tired to always hear Gaara-sama. He desperately wanted someone to talk to like they were equals. He laughed when he read the lines.
Everything she wrote was so interesting and new to him. Wah!
To Sakura-chan. Sakura-chan's guys is truly amazing. I have never heard of someone with pink hair before. I think it is very beautiful. I've got red hair and turquoise eyes. I appreciate Sakura-chan's honesty. I will show Sakura-chan the trick when we meet. I hope to meet you someday. Sakura-chan is not only honest, but she is smart, too. I will send her one of my favorite storybooks. Can Sakura-chan read kanji? If so, I can send her more difficult books about Suna, just like she said she wished. Please don't worry about the fact that I am a boy and Sakura-chan is a girl. It is not important. I am happy with anything Sakura-chan wants to send me from Konoha, and I am happy to talk about anything Sakura-chan likes. I don't have a favorite color, but if I take a look in my closet, all of my clothes are brown. I think it is safe to say brown is my favorite color, then. Sakura-chan's father is very smart. All cats have green eyes. Sakura doesn't like black, but she likes black cats. It is a little bizarre. I wonder why. I have never had pets, but if I were to choose one, that would be the scorpion. I like it because it is small, black, and lethal. I saw a mother scorpion carrying its babies on her back. They were red and transparent. Thank you for all the amazing gifts. I admit I didn't know anything about this lily of the valley that you mentioned. Have you ever drunk its water? Sakura-chan is very smart to find a way to convince her parents to play with her. Congratulations. If I possessed Sakura-chan's ingenuity, maybe I would know how to convince the others to play with me. 2. I have a brother, Kankuru, and a sister, Temari. Kankuru has got brown hair and brown eyes, while Temari has got fair hair and green eyes. They're both older than me. Unfortunately, Dad doesn't let them play with me. My brother tried sneaking into my room to play with me, but my dad caught him and beat him. Never mind. Maybe Dad will change his mind when we grow up. I don't know who this Sasuke is, but I can tell you he is definitely wrong. Sakura-chan is not annoying at all. Quite the opposite, Sakura-chan is very interesting. Please tell me more about your village and yourself. I don't mean military information, don't worry. I can't wait to read anything Sakura-chan thinks is interesting. From Gaara. Gaara was ashamed to send a photo of himself first, so he pretended he didn't read the line where she indirectly asked him to let her see his face. He went to the post office with a box. He put the letter and the book inside it before sealing it. When the cacti bloom, I am going to rip a flower and send it to her. Chapter 3. Protect Sakura. All kids bragged about their amazing new friends from abroad. Hinata was lucky to have a friend who invited her to her house in Suna. Of course, Hinta's parents didn't let her go, but it was impressive nonetheless. Kiba was friends with a boy who wanted to come to Konoha only to play with his dog because there were no dogs in the desert. Shino talked to a girl who had an impressive collection of spiders. Even Ino talked about a blonde girl like her who made dolls and promised to send her one. Sakura told her classmates about the storybook she received from Gaara. She was very happy because nobody in Konoha had ever heard them before. She was eager to share them with the rest, but her colleagues considered it a silly and uninteresting idea for a gift. How can you be happy you received a book? Yes, get out of here. Your friend is a loser, just like you. They pointed at her and laughed mockingly. He is not a loser. He's great. He's more awesome than any of you. Sakura screamed with her high-pitched voice. More awesome than Sasuke? Sakura blushed and didn't know what to say anymore. A boy snatched the book from her hands and threw it to his friend, on the other side of the classroom, before Sakura's fingers could reach it. They were throwing the book from one to another, while Sakura was running after them. Wait! I have to return it. You are going to ruin it. What's this noise? Iruka-sensei asked because he entered the class right at that moment. The child dropped the book on the floor, and all kids scattered like bugs to their seats. Sakura lifted the book carefully before she also returned to her seat. She started crying because the book was ruined, just like she had predicted. Sakura, what happened? Iruka-sensei asked. Sakura replied through tears and hiccups, pointing to the boys. These three destroyed my book. I borrowed it, but how am I supposed to return it in this state? All pages are either ripped or bent. Big mouth. You liar. Shut up. Iruka-sensei's words struck them like thunder. You'll stay after class today. You're grounded, and apologized to Sakura. The boys frowned, but offered their fake apologies to her before they started whispering again. We'll take care of her for snitching tomorrow. Sakura overheard them, and she suddenly felt scared. It was like she had been sitting on thorns all day at school, thinking of what could happen. When the class was over, Sakura went home and had a shower before she put on a red dress with ruffled straps. Her small feet traveled from the desk to the window, then back to the desk. She stood up from the chair and went to her small cupboard to pick up some things that filled her arms. She scattered all of the things she had brought on the desk and smiled. She was grateful she at least had Gaara to talk to. He would never talk to her like those boys did in class. To Gaara-kun. I guessed Gaara-kun's favorite color. Yay! You'll notice how I am writing this letter with a brown crayon to make sure you like reading it. Gaara-kun likes scary animals. Gaara-kun must be very brave if he is not scared of scorpions. I think if I saw one, I would scream until I'd have no voice. Gaara-kun, I am sorry, but I don't understand why your brother is not allowed to play with you. Why don't you try to sneak into his room then? Or maybe Gaara-kun can ask his mom to help him. My mom always takes my side if dad doesn't want to let me do something. I ask her, and she convinces him. Gaara-kun's sister seems pretty fair hair. My friend has got fair hair. Actually, she is my former friend. She doesn't want to be my friend anymore since she found out we like the same boy, Sasuke. I am so happy to know Gaara-kun finds me interesting, although I doubt I am at least half as interesting as Gaara-kun. Gaara-kun, please send me a photo of yourself. I will put my photo in this envelope together with another drawing. By the way, what did you do with my previous drawing? What else should I tell Gaara-kun? I like strawberries and pumpkin pies. What is your favorite food? What should I tell Gaara-kun about my village? I am not sure what could possibly be of interest to him. Gaara-kun, I think you are joking. How can I drink the water of a poisonous plant? I only drink water and tea when my mother brings me. I am upset with her, you know? Do you wonder why? I will tell you. Iruka-sensei asked me what my parents' names are, and I told him Mom and Dad. But I saw a weird look in his eyes. He told me to bring my parents to school the next day. I came with my mom, and Iruka-sensei asked her the same question. Do you know what she said? Kazashi and Mabuki Haruno. How was I supposed to know? Mom was angry with me, and she said she is afraid maybe I forget my own name, so she's sewn it on the inside of all of my shirts and dresses. It's so embarrassing. If word gets out, everyone will laugh at me. Gaara-kun, if you want to keep the cherry tree flower the same color as the day I gave it to you, it must be placed between the pages of a book. Now, I realize the one I gave you has probably withered by now. That's why I am going to send you another one together with a book I love. Gaara-kun, I am ashamed to admit, but the book you sent me is destroyed. I am very sorry, but my classmates snatched it from my hands and ripped it to upset me. I know it was Gaara-kun's favorite book, and I feel like I disappointed him. If there is anything I can do to make it up to you, please let me know. I understand if Gaara-kun doesn't want to send me other gifts. I am really sorry. I hope Gaara-kun can forgive me and continue to write to me. Gaara-kun's letters are the only things that make me happy. From Sakura, Haruno. Ever since he sent the previous letter, little Gaara feared his father might try to cut off his ties with Sakura anytime, so he thought very hard of a way to communicate with her without written words involved, so that his father won't have proof that Gaara made a friend. The new bond was precious to the little boy, so he set his mind to do anything in his power to protect it. The many hours of research and experiments have finally paid off. He was going to tell Sakura a new secret in his next letter, even if she said she has a big mouth.
It was worth the try.
He was very happy to find out Sakura also sent him a box, not just a letter. This time, Gaara ran to a secluded place because he didn't want to risk and draw his father's attention with a big box. Until then, Gaara had hidden all letters he had received in the inside of his blouse, close to his chest, and only opened them when he was alone in his room. He was in an abandoned building made of clay and stucco, which was half broken. It looked like a cocoon. He lowered his body to place the box on the floor before he opened it with a wide grin. There was a pink envelope and a book underneath it.
Cool.
It must be Sakura's favorite book. I wonder if she liked my book. He flipped through the pages, and a cherry tree flower along with a photo fell from between the pages. He picked up the photo and said, Sakura, wow. She is so pretty. Her hair was pink indeed, and her eyes were big and green. Beautiful. He opened the envelope and started reading. He didn't even notice the girl wrote the letter in brown until after he read her first lines.
How sweet.
Sakura wrote the letter with Gaara in mind. Then he noticed stickers were glued from place to place. Sakura was trying to cover her writing mistakes behind stickers. That was so cute. When he got to the part where she explained what had happened to his book, his eyes darkened and a knot formed in his throat. Not because of her, because she had no fault. That part of the letter was stained with some small round dots. They looked as if she had dropped water on the paper and then it dried.
She cried.
Gaara realized. Nobody had the right to make Sakura cry. She was his friend, and he needed to do something to help her. These colleagues of hers were worthless. Gaara couldn't bear the thought of them upsetting her. If they dared do something like this with the book, then who knows what they did to Sakura. He swallowed air and tried very hard to ignore the voice of the demon sealed inside of him that screamed for blood. He looked at her photo again and calmed down. He couldn't write anything to Sakura that day. He needed to clear his thoughts before he grabbed a pen and end up writing something that would scare her. On the next day, he was ready to reply to her letter because he had spent the whole night thinking how to approach the problem. To Sakura-chan. As always, thank you very much for the gifts. I will carefully read the book Sakura-chan had wrapped for me. I found the flower and the photo of Sakura-chan. Thank you for explaining how to keep a flower. Now I can see the same beautiful flower again years from now. As for the photo, Sakura-chan's hair is very special. I have never seen pink hair before. Were you born like this, or did you paint your hair? Sakura-chan's forehead is not unusual at all, and I can tell Sakura-chan's favorite color from her dress. I will send you a photo of me. Don't worry, I kept Sakura-chan's drawing. I never throw away gifts, especially since I have never received a gift before. I asked Sakura-chan not to worry about the book I sent her. It is not important. It is more important for me to know that these people, Gaara grimaced when he wrote this last word, will not hurt Sakura-chan again. I will send her a vial with my sand. All you have to do is open it, and the sand will protect you. Nobody will be able to hurt you anymore. I am sorry I am not there with you. I could protect you from them. Nobody would dare pick a fight with you again. If Sakura-chan never heard her parents call each other by their first names, then she is not guilty of not knowing their names. It is important that Sakura-chan has a good relationship with her parents. Sakura-chan is embarrassed that her mother sewed her name on the clothes, but in truth I wish my mother would be able to do the same for me. Sakura-chan doesn't know, but my mom died when she gave birth to me. Sakura-chan finds me interesting. That's so good. I wonder what strawberries and pumpkin pies taste like. I have never had them before. When I come to Konoha one day, I ask Sakura-chan to let me taste her favorite food. I promise I will do the same for you, although I am not sure I have a favorite dish. A while back, I really liked miso soup because it was my uncle's favorite, but now that he's gone, I don't feel the need to eat it anymore. If I find something that I like a lot, I will share it with Sakura-chan in the future. I promise. There is no need for Sakura-chan to make it up to me, because she didn't do anything wrong. Still, if Sakura-chan insists, I will forget everything if Sakura-chan receives my sand and continues to send me letters. There is no need for Sakura-chan to tell me about her village. I will be able to see it with my own eyes in the future, so I can wait. Sakura-chan, what were you up to this week? How tall are you? How many years will you stay in school? Is this Irika-sensei a good teacher? I want Sakura-chan to know I will continue to write dozens of letters to her, and I won't stop until she gets bored. That is why I ask her not to forget about me and write to me fast. From Gaara. Gaara didn't want to write too many details about his family, because it was a sensitive topic for him. He also didn't want to insist on finding out about her village. If she didn't want to say anything about it, then so be it. If I were to insist, Sakura might think I am a spy, or maybe she is afraid she will tell me too much because of her big mouth. When he went to the post office to send the letter, he was surprised to find out Sakura had sent him another 3 postcards, all with photos from her village. Wow, so pretty. Chapter 4. Brilliant Plan. The days that followed since she sent the last letter to Suna were a fountain of stress for the pink-haired girl. She left the classroom at the same time as the teacher when the bell rang, and she came back from the break 1 minute after the teacher entered the classroom. When the classes finished, Sakura had had her backpack already packed 2 minutes before the bell rang for the last time, so when the teacher let them go home, Sakura ran through the doors as if her life depended on it. She ran until she was close to her house, where she felt safe. She was on the run all the time, but thankfully, she had everything planned. Sakura liked making plans. When she opened the next parcel from Suna, she was amazed to find a vial of sand. She hurried to read the letter and find out what it was. She held the letter in one hand and the sand vial in the other. Her eyes bugged out when she opened the vial and saw the sand swirl into the air before it wrapped around her wrist like a sweet golden bracelet. What an unusual present. I wonder what Gaara-kun meant by, "It will protect you." She wondered for a few moments before she forgot what she was thinking about and grabbed some crayons. Gaara's photo was cute. He was a really nice kid. The tattoo on his forehead looked very cool. She grabbed a red marker, and she tried to draw the same mark on her forehead. She had her tongue out, marking deep concentration. I don't look as cool as him. She thought about taking a photo of herself like that, but she quickly gave up the idea because Gaara might have thought that she was making fun of him. Sakura didn't want to risk upsetting her only friend. Right when she was admiring herself in the mirror, her mother opened the door to her room. Sakura wiped her forehead with the back of her hand hurriedly. "Ah, you're so sweet. I need you to go to the market. Here, hold this." Her mom handed Sakura a carrot with money wrapped around it and tied with a string. That was how her mom sent her to buy things ever since Sakura brought home soap instead of rice. This way, mistakes like that one wouldn't happen. The seller knew exactly what the mom wanted, carrots, and Sakura had the exact amount of money, so she didn't have to bother with change. Sakura put the carrot in the pocket of her dress and ran to the hall to put on her shoes. She greeted her mom and got out with a smile on her face. She hopped all the way to the store. She lifted the white veil at the entrance of the shop and sneaked inside. She handed the carrot to the seller, who untied the string herself and took the money. While she was waiting for the seller to weigh the carrots, Sakura felt somebody snickering behind her and turned around only to freeze when she recognized the faces of the troublesome boys in class. They elbowed each other while looking at her. They decided to get out of the store without buying anything. They must be up to something. Sakura feared they were waiting for her outside, so she started fidgeting and kept looking behind. "Is everything okay, dear?" "Yes." "Here you go. Take these to your mom." Sakura stretched out her hands to grab the bag and bit her lip when she lifted the veil to leave the store. Her steps were headed home with somewhat hesitancy. She looked around, but nothing seemed suspicious. She roamed a big portion of the road and nothing happened to her, so she took a deep breath and continued to walk carefully, humming a song her mom used to sing to her. A boy sneaked behind her and yanked her hair all of a sudden until she fell to the ground. She dropped the bag and her hands moved to her hair, trying to pull it back because it hurt. Tears were falling from her eyes. "Leave me alone. Why did you snitch on us?" "Yes, teach her a lesson," the others encouraged the boy, pulling her hair. The sand bracelet felt the danger and wrapped itself around the boy's wrist, squeezing hard. "Huh? What is this?" the boy asked perplexedly. The sand squeezed a little too hard in the boy's opinion. He freaked out when his bones started to pop. He shook his hand, hoping the sand would let him go. He released Sakura and ran away with the others, who looked at Sakura in horror when they heard their leader scream. The information of what had just happened didn't have time to sink into Sakura's mind because she was too busy to wipe her tears and try to tame her hair before grabbing her carrots to run back home. The sand returned to her wrist before she had the chance to realize it was gone. Sakura was happy Gaara saved her somehow, even if he was a country away. The fact that she felt protected meant she didn't have to run from the class as soon as she heard the bell ring. There was no need to live in fear of what could happen. She had to thank Gaara for it. To Gaara-kun. I wish to thank Gaara-kun because he forgave me for the book and especially for the unique present he sent me in the vial. I was very stressed because of my mischievous colleagues, but now, thanks to Gaara-kun, I don't have to run away or hide anymore. What Gaara-kun did for me. How did Gaara-kun do this? Can he teach me to do it, too? I want to make it up to Gaara-kun, so I will ask Mom to teach me how to sew, because I want to sew Gaara-kun's name on a blouse and give it to him as a gift. My thank you gift. I am very happy to know Gaara-kun is on my side, and I am equally sorry to hear Gaara-kun didn't have the chance to spend time with his mom. If Gaara-kun travels to Konoha, he can come to my house and my mom can be his mom. 2. To tell you a secret, my parents have always wanted a son. I didn't have the chance to tell you my opinion about the book you gave me. I have never read anything more interesting than this. It doesn't resemble any of the books in Konoha. There were few stories that didn't really do it for me, though, the ones with the ship which traveled on the sea. I don't like a lot of action in my stories or movies. But overall it was great. What does Gaara-kun think about my book? As for my hair, I am sending Gaara-kun a strand of my hair to convince him that this is my natural hair color. My dad is red-haired, like you, my mom is blonde, so of course the baby has got pink hair. Gaara-kun looks ferocious with those black circles around his eyes and the tattoo on his forehead, but I could never be scared of him because Gaara-kun helped me. When you come to Konoha, which I hope will be soon, I will introduce Gaara-kun to a lot of dishes, and he will pick the food he likes. This week I spent most of the time at the library. I have to admit I felt lonely, but then I remembered your letter must arrive any moment, so this cheered me up instantly. Now that I have a photo of Gaara-kun, I can write the letter with his picture next to me, and I feel like I can already talk to Gaara-kun face to face. I wish these letters could arrive faster. If it is not a bother to Gaara-kun, please send me books about Suna because I can read kanji but not very difficult ones. My mom says I am pretty tall for an 8-year-old girl, 120 m. However, Ino is 140 m. How tall is Gaara-kun? I will graduate the Ninja Academy when I am 12 years old. Is it the same for you? I like Iraka-sensei because he is always cheerful and explains all his lessons well. It would have been even better if Naruto and Kiba hadn't always interrupted him with their stupid pranks. How is your teacher? I wonder what Gaara-kun's room looks like. Send me a letter soon, please. From Sakura Haruno. Gaara's teachers told his father how unusually calm he became. The boy seemed less troubled than before. It was as if his scales were balanced. Sakura's friendship weighed just as much as the darkness hidden inside him, darkness which was mostly fueled by all the people who were meant to protect him. His father thought that if the teachers were right, he could finally manipulate Gaara as a weapon to protect the hidden sand village, and they could finally drop the assassination attempts. For 7 days Gaara felt his father's scanning eyes on his every move. Days went by, and he couldn't go to the post office until he made sure nobody was following him. Luck was on the boy's side on the 10th day because his dad was called in for a meeting with the elders. The boy's heart became light for a brief moment. He knew he had to do something to communicate with the girl without written text. He climbed on a little sand biscuit with his small feet and flew like the wind to the post office. The wind ruffled his sunset-colored hair as if it had his mom's fingers, and he felt refreshed. When he got out of the post office with the letter in his hand, he teleported himself under a bridge so he could read in peace. He opened the letter anxiously and found her pink lock of hair. He brushed it with his fingers and smelled it while reading her words. It was the first time after Yashimaru's death that he touched a part of someone else. Little water drops fell onto the letter from above, creating stains on the colored paper. He panicked and hurried to wipe it with his trembling fingers. He hid farther into the shadows underneath the bridge, but the water drops kept falling. He brought a hand to his face in despair and felt it wet. That was when he realized he was crying. They were tears of joy because someone wished to stay with him, tears of joy because his sand protected her. He did an unselfish thing, and it made him feel like life is worth living for the first time after his uncle passed away. He took out the paper he hid underneath his blouse and started scribbling really fast. Who knows when my dad's spies finally discover me? If they do, who knows if they're going to let me send the letter or not? To Sakura-chan, I water the seed of our friendship with tears of joy. Thank you for the faith you put in me. I will forever keep the gift Sakura-chan kindly offered me. I am happy to find out Sakura-chan found peace again. There is no need for Sakura-chan to go overboard for me. I am happy if Sakura-chan continues to talk to me. I am writing this letter in a hurry because my dad doesn't want me to have any friends. If he finds out I am talking to you, I am afraid he will try to sever the bond that ties us. I am sending you one more sand vial, only this time I infused it with my blood. When you open the lid, it will mix with the sand you already have. Infuse it with a drop of your blood, and I believe we will be able to communicate without paper. I am sending you this message with one of my father's messenger birds. From Gaara. He smelled her hair one last time before he sealed the envelope and folded it. His hairless brows frowned, meaning the plan he had conceived was about to be put into practice. He used his sand to fly again above the houses and summoned his sand eye to scout the guards in the bird's room while he hid beneath the window. There was only one guard, a tall, black-haired man who yawned. He looked tired, which meant he could be easily distracted. Gaara used his sand to drop a stone in the same building, but on a lower floor. The noise made the guard climb down the stairs to check, while Gaara jumped through the window and took a big, brown feathered bird from the cage. I hope Sakura won't be scared of it.
It's the fastest bird we have.
He left quickly because the birds started whistling and ruffling their feathers as soon as he entered the room. The guard came back and scratched his head. What's gotten into all of you? Gaara was already flying towards the border. He covered the bird's eyes so she wouldn't make noise and draw attention to them. They stopped a few meters from the village's gates when Gaara tied the message and the scroll to the bird's leg. He let the bird smell Sakura's hair so she knew where to go before letting her go. Only when his eyes lost the bird in Konoha's skies did Gaara relax his stiff shoulders. Sakura was eating with her parents when she heard loud knocks on the window. When she saw the big bird, Sakura screamed and hid behind her mother's skirt while her dad went to the window. A bird from Suna? Sakura's eyes became as big as onions. There is something tied to its leg. I think it's a message. Her dad continued. Sakura ran to the window and opened it while untying the paper from the bird.
Yes.
It must be my new friend from Suna. Her parents looked at each other and frowned. Which friend? It's part of a school project. We send letters to the kids from Suna, and they send letters back to us. Sakura replied while running to her room. Her father thought this friend must be someone important, otherwise he wouldn't have had access to messenger birds. He scratched the back of his head and sat back down at the table with his wife, who was laughing. Kids, she thought. Sakura was giggling more than usual. She read the note with her eyebrows raised. She summoned the vial Gaara had sealed in the scroll and opened its lid. The slightly red sand mixed with the sand on her wrist in a beautiful rose-color bracelet.
Wah.
Oh, I almost forgot, Sakura said out loud. She stung her finger with a needle and let 2 drops of blood pour onto the bracelet. It suddenly glowed for a second before it came back to its original gold color. I wonder what that was. A boy's voice rung in her head. Sakura? The girl freaked out and screamed for good. Who is it? Sakura, it's me, Gaara. Gaara-kun?
Wah.
How did you do this? How can I hear you? The little boy giggled before he thought of an answer. I wasn't sure it was going to work. This is great. We established a link through the blood-infused sand. Now we can talk anytime.
Ooh.
So cool. Sakura, is everything all right? Her dad asked when he opened the door. Wait a bit. It's my dad. Yes, Papa. Everything is fine. Don't worry. Good, my little flower.
Come back to eat.
You didn't finish. Okay, I am coming. Sakura's dad took her around the shoulders and led her back to the dining room. Gaara-kun, I have to go eat. Let's talk later.
Sure.
Enjoy your lunch. Chapter 5. Mother watches from above. On the same night, Sakura brushed her teeth quickly and changed into her pajamas in record time because she couldn't wait to talk to Gaara again. When she got into her room, she was already breathless. Gaara-kun, can you hear me? Sakura. The boy shouted her name in his mind. Yes, I can.
Wah.
This was the longest dinner I've ever had. I couldn't wait to come back and talk to you. Gaara only smiled while he played with a toy train on the carpet. Sakura kept talking. I have so many questions. How did you get into my mind? Can you hear all of my thoughts?
Can you see me?
Sakura, slow down.
Give me time to answer.
Gaara felt a headache was coming for him. Oh, you're right.
Sorry.
Gaara felt how happy she was, and he could only let himself be infected with her joy. I can't see you, but I can hear your thoughts. You should be able to hear mine, too. Gaara-kun, were you thinking of cotton candy earlier? Yes, see?
Wah.
Sakura said while jumping and clapping her hands. Gaara-kun, what am I doing now? I don't know. I told you I can't see you. Oh, that's right. I forgot. As for how we managed to establish this connection, I searched a lot through the archives and found an old book about a giant monster with a long tail and scales made of rock. Brown fur covered its paws. Long black claws were his weapon. This monster held an amazing power, that's why humans hunted it down to obtain it. He always feared they would catch him, so he scattered his small round balls of sand everywhere. He could see everything through his balls of sand as if they were his own eyes. That's how he knew whenever humans got closer, giving him time to flee. Gaara felt her fear when he started to describe the monster, and it amused him. That topic was so trivial to him that it didn't wake any emotion in him, especially since he knew the creature had been sealed inside him on the day he was born. He kept going with the story. A baby just like the monster was born. The father decided it was better to split because it increased their chances of survival. It would be very difficult for men to hunt both of them. The monster and his baby could talk to each other even if they were on opposite sides of the earth thanks to their blood connection and magic sand. Therefore, I thought if you and me were tied by blood, with the help of my sand, we could talk even if we are miles apart.
Wah!
Gaara-kun's stories are so cool, Sakura said with her back resting against the door and hands clasped on her chest. Gaara-kun, where did you get this magic sand from? Sakura, I will tell you my secret.
Please try not to tell this to anyone.
The little boy felt her stress. She didn't know if she could do it. She drew random lines with the crayon on the back of her hand. The last promise she broke must have affected her badly. It is fine even if Sakura tells the others as long as she keeps talking to me. Gaara felt Sakura's energy revived. Okay, I can do that. I was born with the ability to manipulate sand. Sakura's eyes were as big as onions and stopped in the middle of her drawing to listen further. The sand protects me. When I am under attack, the sand forms a shield around me and hardens like stone. Nothing can get through it. Why would anybody want to attack Gaara-kun? I don't understand. The boy didn't know how to answer, so he moved the toy train forward-backward in a loop. He was trying to block his thoughts, so she couldn't read them. Not many people could handle hearing or seeing the atrocities that had happened before his eyes. Sakura's voice woke him up from deep concentration. I am sorry. I made Gaara-kun feel sad. I can sense his emotions. Sakura's energy level was low again. Sakura-chan, there is something else that's special to this sand. It takes any shape I want.
Wah!
I want to see. Sakura clapped her hands again. Gaara focused, and the bracelet around her wrist transformed into 3 thin bracelets.
Oh!
Gaara-kun, can you make cherry flowers on it, too? Wait a second. He got up from the floor and went to where he had hid the blossom she gave him because he forgot what it looks like. He held it between his fingers while he imagined it on Sakura's hand. Sakura giggled when the bracelets turned into one again and a big cherry blossom adorned it. She screamed so loud in her mind that Gaara nearly dropped the flower. Gaara-kun, this is great. I can't believe this. It was Sakura's turn to get scared when she heard his laughter. Sakura, my dad is even more special. He can manipulate sand mixed with gold. It sounds cool, but I don't think it can be more awesome than Gaara-kun. By the way, you should have seen how those boys ran away like ants when your sand protected me. Gaara writhed at the sound of her words. Which boys? The ones who always upset me. They either yank my hair or push me down the stairs. Sometimes they make me stumble. I am so glad I don't have to fear them anymore. I am so lucky to have Gaara-kun. He didn't like it all to find out there were people who dared to behave that way with her. Sakura, one day I will be next to you and nobody will ever dare to act that way with you. Sakura giggled, and then she looked at the time. Gaara-kun, what time do you go to sleep? I don't sleep. Maybe Sakura noticed the dark circles around my eyes. Why don't you sleep? I will tell you next time. It's your bedtime now, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I will let you rest now. We will talk more tomorrow. Good night. Good night. Sakura climbed onto the bed and closed her eyes, but no matter how much she rolled on all sides like a skewer on the grill, she couldn't sleep. Gaara-kun? I thought you were sleeping. Well, I keep hearing your thoughts and I can't sleep. She admitted with shame before she swallowed air. Oh, I am sorry. What should we do? I can't really stop my thoughts. What if I took off my bracelet?
No.
Gaara desperately said. If she took it off, who knew if she wouldn't forget to put it back on? What if I read to you from a book until you fall asleep? I will read from your favorite book. This way, Sakura will be able to rest well while hearing something that she likes. It sounds great, Sakura said in her mind with her small hands on the blanket that covered her to the nose. Gaara cleared his throat, although he didn't know why, because he wasn't reading out loud, but in his mind. Sakura's lashes mingled, and she fell asleep before he finished reading the first story. The little boy put the book back and squeaked happily in his room. He rested his head on the pillow. Underneath the pillow, there was a small strand of pink hair that smelled like his friend from Konoha. Shikaku, you deceive yourself, boy. She will never accept you. She is going to abandon you, just like everyone else. Gaara, shut up. Shikaku laughed quizzically. On the next day, Sakura walked into class with her hands clutching the handle of her bag in nervousness. Thankfully, nobody looked her way, so she relaxed and went to her desk. The boy she had hurt had his arm bandaged. Sakura was shocked that his parents didn't come to look for her. Maybe the boy was afraid if he chirped, all of the things he did to Sakura would unveil, and that would have been much worse for him than a broken hand. He risked being expelled from school. During class, somebody tried to hit Sakura with a paper ball, but her sand blocked it before it touched Sakura's pink hair. She looked around to identify the culprit, but nobody looked suspicious. She turned her head towards the blackboard again, and Sasuke's haircut drew her attention. Butterflies danced in her stomach whenever she saw him. Gaara knew how she felt towards that boy, and he didn't like it at all, but since she was his only friend, he couldn't risk making comments about it. He swallowed air and wondered if maybe Shikaku was right. At lunch, Sakura gathered all of her courage and asked Sasuke to eat with her. He turned his back on her without a word. He always ate alone. He didn't enjoy company. Sakura's eyes filled with tears right before she heard Gaara's voice in her mind. Sakura, I will have lunch with you if you wish. It wasn't exactly what she wanted, but it was better than eating by herself. She sat down under the shadow of a tree and opened her bento box while talking to her friend. Sasuke refused to eat with her every day, so she ended up having lunch with Gaara. As days went by, she enjoyed spending time with him more and more. Everything Gaara said was funny and unique. Gaara never asked about Sasuke because he feared Sakura would know he was jealous, and that might push her away. In addition, it was painful to find out information about this boy who clearly valued a frozen onion more than he valued Sakura. The happiest day of the redhead's life was when Sakura asked him first if he wanted to eat with her, instead of asking Sasuke. Gaara was always with her, and she always made his heart dance. Gaara-kun, when can I send you another letter? I want to show you my drawings. I am sorry, but it is still dangerous to do that right now. My dad found out one of his messenger birds went missing, and he suspects me. But, Gaara-kun, why don't you tell your father that you want to talk to me? Sakura, when you said you aren't scared of me, did you mean it? How can I be scared of Gaara-kun? What if I told you something terrifying about me? Would you still talk to me? Would you still want to be my friend? Of course. Gaara-kun doesn't know me. I would do some terrifying things to my enemies if I had the power. Gaara felt there was a dark side of Sakura. Sakura-chan, that monster I told you about lives inside me. My dad made sure to seal it inside me when I was a baby because he wanted to make sure the power is in his hands. He wanted to manipulate me to do everything he wants, but I have my own will. He looks at me and sees a weapon, I can tell. Sometimes, this monster named Shikaku takes control over my body when I am asleep and starts killing people. That's why I can't sleep. If I sleep, I am afraid the monster will come out and spill blood again. If Dad finds out you and I talk, he will think you are trying to manipulate me in order to use Shikaku's power for Konoha's benefit. Sakura didn't say anything, and it made Gaara panic. He feared maybe she had broken their connection. Sakura? Sorry, I was thinking about what you said. You are the same as Naruto, she said calmly. Who? Naruto. He is a boy in my class who has the 9 tails sealed inside him, but he doesn't have sleep issues. Maybe his monster is quieter. If Gaara-kun was stressed that I wouldn't talk to him once I found out all of this, he can relax. Gaara-kun has never hurt me, quite the opposite actually. He only did good things for me. I would be an idiot to talk to those who have always mistreated me and not talk to you. Really? Tears pooled in his eyes as he tried to wipe them on his sleeve. Sakura knew he was crying and she smiled. Gaara-kun, what kind of monster cries? She giggled. While he was wiping his tears, he made up his mind to repay her kindness tenfold in the future. Sakura-chan has no idea how happy I am she thinks this way. I promise to never disappoint her and to always protect her. Gaara, you are not so special, you know? I've thought about killing my enemies many times now. I think I would have done it if I had the power. Sakura-chan is scary. I need to be careful not to upset her. Don't worry, if someone bothers you, tell me and I will take care of it. Gaara, let's try not to kill anyone. I am afraid I will have nightmares. Gaara nodded. He couldn't count the nightmares he had had because of Shikaka's killings. The sky was smiling above the kids because Gaara's mother was happily watching them. My sweet baby boy, she thought. If only he and his siblings had gotten along, everything would have been perfect. Chapter 6.
Beware.
The following school week was pretty stirred, but it wasn't that usual unrest. The kids seemed troubled. Gaara, something doesn't smell right. What do you mean? Everyone is acting weird. All of them seemed to only walk in groups. Tenten didn't use to hang out with Shikamaru and Chuji. Wait a second. Irika-sensei has just arrived. Only by the middle of the week did she find out what had happened. It looks like a mommy came to school to ask the principal about her missing son. He went to school, but he didn't come back home. At first, everybody thought he was going to show up because he sometimes went to the forest without telling anyone. Other times, he skipped class to go fishing and fell asleep on the pond. But they weren't so sure they were going to find him after Tenten related in front of the class what had happened to her when she was going home from school. I and Ino were on the road. We had just left school and were headed home. We wanted to stop at a cake shop on the way because we heard they brought new cakes with unusual flavors. It's not important. Skip to the important part. Irika-sensei told her. I saw two strange men walking behind us in the mirror of a shop in front of us. Ino proposed to check if they were following us, so we turned right on the next street, and then we turned left. I looked behind me, and they were still there. That was when I looked at Ino and told her to run as soon as we get to the corner of the street. We started walking faster, and we heard their pace increase, too. We ran like the wind, and they chased us like rats. Only exclamations of astonishment could be heard in the class. Sakura didn't sense the danger, though. Nobody had ever heard of child abduction in Konoha before. Ino took over the story. We were smarter than them because we entered a shop and left through the back before we ran to my house because it was the closest. My mom went to get Tenten's parents to pick her up from my place. How scary. Yes, horrible. The girls' voices rang through the noise. The boys laughed. They didn't seem very scared. Or maybe they enjoyed horror stories. That was the reason why everyone stuck to a group. Sakura chose to wander alone. She was pretty confident in Gaara's sand. Every day was like any other day to her, except that part of the day when she talked to Gaara. That was the most interesting and fun part. They played chess in their mind. She told him the move and waited for him to think before he told her his move, too. It wasn't ideal because they could read each other's mind and both of them knew the other's plans of attack. Thus, most of the games ended up in a tie. When Gaara won once, Sakura was so furious. She said she never wants to play that game again. What?
Why?
Because you're cheating. She angrily said, although she knew it wasn't true. Gaara was angry every time she said that because he would have never resorted to pitiful acts such as cheating. If he wanted something, he took it by force in a fair fight. And there was no way he could cheat. She could read all of his thoughts. I didn't cheat. You only say that to upset me. He felt that she was on the verge of crying, so he made up his mind to leave her be. I'll let you win next time. Silence. Sakura? Come on. Don't be upset. Look, we'll do something you like. Let's talk about flowers. You love flowers. Sakura smiled. But Gaara, you don't like this topic. Gaara laughed because it was true. Yes, you're right. Then he thought he only said it because he couldn't think of a better thing to say to get her out of her bad mood. However, he forgot she also heard this thought. Gaara is so sweet. I am not sweet. I am a boy. Girls are sweet. He desperately tried to defend his honor as a man. Sakura kept on laughing, making him even more frustrated. Gaara, I am sorry I said you are a cheater. I know you didn't actually do that. The boy exhaled in relief and suddenly felt better. Sakura, let's play again. And let's not fight anymore. First, I want you to promise to let me win a game for every 3 games you win. Gaara pretended to think about it for a second while he was making an origami crane on his desk.
Fine, I promise. As long as you stop crying. Yay.
As they were talking, Sakura kept looking behind to check if there were any rickshaws to bring her home faster. She was on her way home from school. The street was empty, even though it was past lunchtime. She played with Gaara and looked back every now and then. Two men walking side by side drew her attention. One of them wore black glasses. A few minutes later, she turned her head again, and it seemed that they had gotten closer to her, so she frowned. Gaara asked her a question, but she didn't hear it. Sakura?
Gaara, something's odd.
The same two people have been behind me ever since I started walking on this street. Gaara stopped everything he was doing to listen carefully. Is there a reason to be concerned? I don't know. Were there any kidnapping cases in your village lately? Sakura thought about his question and remembered the story of the two girls in her classroom. Her heart shrunk to the side of a flea. Gaara saw the memory, too. He realized it was a critical moment. His cold blood helped in this kind of situations. Sakura, listen to me. Sakura clutched the sides of her backpack. Across on the other side of the road, and tell me if they do the same. Sakura did, as she was told. The men followed Gaara's advice, too, even if they couldn't hear him. Fear took control of the little girl, and she wanted to run.
Don't.
If you do it, they will know you discovered them, and they will chase you down. Sakura was preparing to cry. Sakura, listen to me. You will get out of this. I am with you. Are there any other people on the street? Women or families, maybe?
No.
What do the buildings look like? Does it look like somebody lives in them? If you were to scream, do you think anyone would hear you? Sakura looked at the buildings from the corner of her eyes and noticed all of them seemed abandoned or ruined. Even the ones who looked more decent seemed to shelter people who would never come to anyone's aid.
Okay. How close are they to you?
About 30 to 35 meters. Gaara considered his next move. The two men could abduct her because his sand was too little to defend her. Gaara, I see a group of people in front of me on the other side of the road. What do they look like? Women and men, young and old. That's very good. Cross the street again and run.
Now.
Sakura started running. You need to draw attention to you. Scream. She ran as fast as she could, but she couldn't open her mouth to scream. It was like her jaw was stuck because of the intense fear she felt. Sakura, scream. Otherwise, they will take you. Scream.
Now.
Gaara was desperate. In a critical moment, Sakura couldn't do such an easy thing as screaming. Sakura. The men ran after her like crazy. An old woman from the group Sakura had seen earlier connected her eyes with Sakura, and only then could Sakura emit such a sharp and desperate scream that everyone directed their eyes to her. The men behind her slowed down 3 meters behind her. They looked at one another, gritted their teeth, and turned left on the first alley. Sakura walked into the group where the old lady patted her back. Who were those men? Did you know them? Were they following you? Sakura couldn't form any words in her current state. All she could do was cry and sob. The old lady looked in the direction Sakura came from and shook her head. She started comforting the girl, but no matter what she told her, Sakura refused to stop crying. Gaara exhaled in relief that little Sakura escaped from death's claws. Who knows what those people would have done to her, or if anyone would have been able to see her again. The old lady took the girl to her parents. Her mom was shocked to see her like that, but after the lady explained everything, she took her daughter into her arms and understood the reason for her crying. She bowed deeply to the old woman before she went into the house, whispering reassuring words into her daughter's ear. Don't worry, my dear. I will take you to school from now on. Nothing will happen to you. Don't go onto that street again. Her mom kissed the child's cheek as her small hands wrapped around her neck. Sakura hiccuped from all the crying. Her eyes were puffy and red. No one could stop her, not even Gaara. No matter how much it hurt to hear her crying, it would have hurt a lot more if she had died. This was a test for him, too. He realized that he couldn't imagine Sakura not there. Gaara-kun, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have known what to do. You saved me. Thank you. I am just happy you're okay. Now we can play, and look, I will let you in all the games. But this offer is only available today. Sakura started crying again. Please don't cry. Everything is good now. It's over. Gaara-kun, I don't think I can sleep tonight. Will you stay with me?
Of course I will.
But why can't you sleep?
What if they come after me?
She held her knees to her chest, sitting on the floor, between the nightstand and the wall, as far from the window as possible. They're not coming back. How do you know? Because if they did, police would catch them immediately. You have already described their appearance to your family. They want to kidnap people who haven't had the chance to tell anyone. In other words, they don't want to draw attention. Plus, they won't come to you because they imagine you will be well guarded from now on. Sniff. Sniff. Gaara took a deep breath. He was pretty rational for a kid, but it seemed that no argument could convince her. Sakura-chan, try to always stay where there are people around you. Don't wander the streets all alone. Let me know whenever you feel in danger, and I will help you, okay? Okay. Now, don't cry. Sakura squeezed the root of her nose between her fingers and looked at the light bulb on the ceiling to try to stop the tears from falling. Bravo. Good girl. I am proud of you. That night, Gaara read the whole book to her before she finally fell asleep in the same position she had adopted earlier. She refused to sleep on the bed in case somebody looked through the window to check if she was there and kidnap her while she was sleeping. Chapter 7. Annoying Sasuke. Sakura's mom took her to school and brought her back home every day, just like she promised. Sakura held on tightly to her mom's hand while she worriedly looked around. Sakura, I can feel your fear.
Huh?
Sakura asked in embarrassment. Just look around and try to memorize any detail of anyone who looks dangerous. In case they do something to you, I will know what they look like, and I will come to find you. Think about it as ninja training. Gaara, what a good idea. A few days later, Sakura managed to fill Gaara's head with people's descriptions. Even if he had never been to Konoha before, he felt like he already knew everyone in Konoha. They were so many that Sakura probably described the whole village to him. Gaara laughed to himself. On the other hand, he managed to find out one of Sakura's qualities. She was extraordinary at memorizing information. Sakura, I need to train now. Oh. Gaara-kun started training even before he became a genin? Wow, amazing! The boy felt proud to be praised. Yes, I have to become strong. I need to learn to control the monster inside me. I understand. Good luck. I won't bother you. Call me if it's urgent. Yes, I will. The thought that he works hard to be able to protect Sakura in the future made him more focused, more serious, and more attentive. His dad trained him without mercy. Raza attacked his son with intent to kill him, forcing Gaara to defend himself. There was no trace of emotions in Raza's eyes. If the village didn't need him, Raza would kill Gaara on the spot. It was in his best interest that his kid secured his position as the Kazekage, and he told them directly. Temari cried at that moment. Kankuro tried to comfort her, but she got up from the table and left. Gaara didn't feel anything. He stopped feeling anything towards his family years before. The young boy followed his interest when he trained. His only purpose in life was to be next to Sakura. She was the only one who needed him. Raza noticed his youngest son was more determined ever since that messenger bird disappeared. It was wonderful that Gaara wanted to be stronger, but he had to make sure Gaara stuck to his side. Whomever you talk to, remember they will never be next to you, like your family. Gaara stood face to face with his dad, and he was stunned. Golden Sand put him down because he was too stunned to see through the attack. You have to help your family. Strangers only want to take advantage of you. They will steal your power, and you won't be of use to anyone. Gaara clenched his fists and gritted his teeth in response. How dares he? Gaara-kun, are you alright? Sakura asked because his negative feelings reached to her, and she became worried. Raza's sand squeezed Gaara hard, threatening to break his bones. I am the only one you live for, do you understand? Gaara-kun, is everything alright?
Gaara-kun.
Shut up. Shut up. Gaara's hard voice could be heard in both the inside and the outside world. Gaara took his dad by surprise. It was the first time he was in open rebellion against him. Gaara's thoughts darkened more, until he felt like he doesn't have air. Sakura felt the same. Raza knew just by looking at his son's face that he is losing the battle with Shikaku. If Shikaku surfaced, who knew how many people he was going to kill? Thus, Raza changed tactic. To prove I am not your enemy, I will allow you to stay with your brothers tonight. Gaara didn't know whether that was good or bad. His brothers were probably scared of him. What if his dad only wanted to hurt him more? You'll understand one day that I am not your enemy, Raza resignedly said as he pulled his sand back and walked away. Sakura was too afraid to say anything, so she shut up. Gaara didn't know if that was his fear or Sakura's. He was very close to let the monster loose. He sighed deeply and went back home with empty eyes. His father was long gone by the time Gaara arrived. Only when he walked into his room, he remembered he had yelled at Sakura and he was scared that maybe she broke their connection, so he fearfully asked, "Sakura?" He was holding a ball that he moved from one hand to the other in impatience. "Yes," she replied unsteadily. Gaara exhaled, trying to calm down. "Gaara-kun, is everything all right? I felt fire that wrapped around my neck to squeeze and then it felt as if you were gone." "Don't worry. I am all right." His voice was a little stiff. He considered himself a man, so he didn't like to be pitted by others. "I am sorry if I bothered you during training. You apologize too often," Gaara said, a bit more relaxed. Sakura was at a loss for words, so she shut up again. "I am the one who is sorry for yelling at you. Forgive me. My dad was playing with my feelings again. He said you will never truly be on my side." Sakura felt the uncertainty behind his words. He was waiting for her to disapprove. "Gaara-kun, you are my best friend. Your dad doesn't know what he's saying. You and I will continue to talk forever." The red-haired boy sighed in relief. He knew Sakura told the truth. Raza lied. "He likes making my life bitter. So much of a father." He changed the topic to a more cheerful one. "Sakura-chan, Dad will let me stay with my brother and sister tonight." "That's great. I am very happy for you." "Yes. I don't think I can talk to you much tonight. I hope you won't be upset. I will make it up to you tomorrow. Don't worry. I know how much you wanted to play with your siblings. Gaara-kun, if you need advice, you can count on me. I will go to bed late tonight." "MHM, thank you." Gaara smiled happily in his room while playing with the ball in his hands. After dinner, Gaara and his siblings gathered in the living room. The boys were sitting on the floor. There were toys sprawled all over the floor. Kankuru was very happy to play with his little brother. "Can you make food?" Kankuru asked. Gaara nodded and moved his hand to create yakitori chicken in the air.
Wah!
"Can you make a cake?" "Yes." A cake with 3 layers and chocolate glaze appeared above Kankuru's head in no time. Gaara was very happy to know Kankuru wasn't afraid of him. While they were sitting on the carpet, Kankuru showed Gaara his puppets and what he could do with them. He created all kinds of scenarios of attack. He made Gaara create sand enemies which Kankuru's puppets destroyed. Gaara wasn't pleased. "Why do I always have to be the enemies?" Poor Gaara was sick of being looked at as if he was always the enemy. He wanted to be the hero, for once. So Kankuru let him. They played like that for hours, until Gaara realized his sister was sitting alone on the couch with her hands clasped together on her knees. She didn't say anything, but it didn't look like she was afraid either. Gaara knew she was pretty brave in general. It wasn't like her to be this quiet, though. He looked into her eyes. They looked so much like Sakura's eyes. Gaara sat on the floor with his hands clutching his knees, thinking of what to say to her. Kankuru glanced at the couch and back to his brother before directing his eyes to the couch again. "Temari, come here. Stay with us." Gaara thought it was so easy for Kankuru to say those words. They came naturally to him.
How odd.
It was very difficult for Gaara to find the right words that wouldn't scare her off, words that didn't make him seem authoritative, but not a loser either. Temari stood up from the couch and kneeled between her 2 brothers. She blinked often because she was stressed. She didn't know how to start a conversation with Gaara. Raza let them spend so little time together that she didn't know anything about him. What should she ask? What should they play?
Tell her she's pretty.
Sakura said out of the blue. "You're pretty," Gaara said without hesitation. His sentence shocked the 3 of them. Kankuru and Temari looked at each other in amazement. She blushed and then smiled as she grabbed a toy and answered. Thank you. Gaara was embarrassed at first because he thought that was his thought, and he voiced it without question. But after he saw his sister's reaction, he thanked Sakura for helping him break the ice. He would have felt sorry for Temari if she sat there on the couch all by herself because he knew how she must have felt, as if she doesn't belong. Hours later, Kankuru and Temari went back to their rooms. It was almost morning. Gaara had his head on the desk and started crying tears of happiness. Sakura was already fast asleep, but she felt his emotions through her dream, making her smile unconsciously. For the next 3 days, Gaara woke up unexpectedly to start crying and thank God for giving him the chance to play with his siblings. It had been his wish for a long time. He only saw his siblings in pictures until now. At school, Sasuke began noticing Sakura didn't even look at him lately. She ignored him completely and he wondered why, but not because he had any feelings for her, because he didn't. It was important for him to know that the world wants to stay around him even if Sasuke rejected them, because that meant they acknowledge his power and strength. Sasuke existed for that purpose only, to gain power. If Sakura was no longer interested in him, then others will inevitably follow her and all of his badass attitude will be worth nothing. I will end up an idiot like Naruto, Sasuke thought. Sasuke decided to greet Sakura for the first time in his life. She didn't hear him because she was talking to Gaara in her mind. Oi, I have just said hello. Why didn't you reply? Sasuke asked angrily. He couldn't stand being ignored. What is it, Sakura? Sorry, Sasuke-kun. I didn't hear you. Hello? Gaara-kun, Sasuke is upset because I didn't greet him back, but I was talking to you, and I really didn't hear him. You weren't upset with him when he ignored you all this time. He should man up and stop complaining. Will you eat lunch with me? Gaara interrupted her. He didn't like talking about Sasuke. Yes, sure. She quickly replied, forgetting about her dispute with Sasuke. Only at lunch. Sasuke sneaked behind her, and she was startled. She was sitting on grass in the yard under the tree. Sasuke was very arrogant with his hands in his pockets as he stood tall behind her. Eat with me, Sasuke said. No, thank you. Did she just say no to me? Sasuke thought as he couldn't recover from shock. He realized somebody was watching from the bushes and decided to leave in a puff of smoke before he embarrassed himself even more. What happened? I can tell you are angry. This Sasuke. He is acting weird. He came to tell me to eat with him. He didn't even ask. He ordered me like I am some kind of dog. HMPF. Sakura puffed her nose in annoyance. Gaara frowned. Why did this Sasuke suddenly have an interest in Sakura? Something didn't smell right. I am glad you chose to stay with me. Of course. Does this boy tease you often? I thought he doesn't talk to you. Well, he hasn't talked to me until now. I don't know what's gotten into him. Who knows what he is thinking, right? It made Gaara fall in his thoughts. Ino jumped out of the bushes to get closer to Sakura. Gaara-kun, have you spoken to your brother and sister yet? What does your sister say? Sakura must really like my sister if she asks so much about her. I was thinking, do you think she would like to be my friend? I don't know, to be honest. I haven't seen her or Kankuru since that day. I see. Maybe Gaara-kun can ask his father to allow him to see them again? I don't think so because... But Sakura didn't hear the whole sentence because Ino startled her, just like Sasuke. Sakura? What's wrong with everyone today? Sakura asked in irritation. Is it Sasuke again? Gaara asked angrily. No. Sorry, it's Ino. What do you want, Ino? Why do you treat Sasuke bad? I didn't do that. Do you hide some secret only you and he knows? What are you talking about? I simply don't want to stay with him. He's been rejecting me until now, and suddenly he expects me to do whatever he says. No way. Ino was shocked by Sakura's attitude. Could it be that Sakura didn't like Sasuke anymore? You're acting weird. I am not the one who hides behind bushes. Sakura laughed, and she could hear Gaara laugh, too. Since she thought of what she should reply to Ino, Gaara was able to hear all of her replies. How sweet. Now, I and Gaara have a secret. Shut up. I wasn't hiding. Whatever. Just leave me alone. HMPF. Fine. Ino's fists trembled at her sides as she walked away from her former friend. Sorry, Gaara-kun. It looks like today is the annoying people's day. They keep on bothering me. I think it's funny. I am happy you talked to me. You know, I believe you can make up with Ino. Do you really think so? Yes. Now that you don't like Sasuke anymore, you have no reason to fight. Give your best to regain her friendship. I will do the same with my brother and sister. Gaara-kun, that's a great idea.